And I want to thank James. We're in a series in Isaiah, and James preached for us wonderfully last week on Isaiah 6, so thank you for that. And he was preaching of the famous verse of this vision that Isaiah has of the Lord, the glory of God, that he has this vision, or he's there, we're not quite sure, he has this vision of the glory of God, and he doesn't say that he sees God, because your face would melt off, but he's seeing something of God, and he says that the train of his robe fills the temple. He says that the angels, the seraphim that are looking at him, they can't look at him. These holy beings that when they visit humans, we think there's something so holy that we are told off for worshipping them. But they're so holy that we want to worship them, but they're not holy enough because they can't even look at God. They have to cover their eyes and cover their feet because they're seen as unholy, but they're covering themselves from looking at God because he's too holy. He's too holy. And Isaiah paints this picture of this glorious God, this God that can't even be looked at, this God that can't even be contained to a temple, a heavenly temple. If a temple is quite big on earth, it's surely massive in heaven, but our God can't even be contained in this temple. Not even his robe can be contained in this temple. And James was asking, what does that do to us? When we think of this God that is so glorious, that has done so much for his people, that has done so much for us, so much glory that not even these angels that are in heaven, constantly in heaven, can't look at him. What does that do to us? What does that do to our heart? What does it do to our lives? How do we orient our lives in the wake of that? What do we do? What does it do to us? So thank you for that, James. That was really really good. And so we're going to be in Isaiah 7. It'll be the whole of the chapter, but we're going to zoom in, as we have been in these wider passages, into a few verses. But I'm going to try and give a bit of a overview of 7. So Isaiah 7 is set in this time of national crisis. You have King Ahaz of Judah, who is threatened by this alliance between Aram and Israel, and the people are terrified. The fear is described. It says that their hearts shake like trees in the wind. They're scared. They're scared of what's going to happen. And God sends the prophet Isaiah to meet Ahaz while he's expecting the water source of Jerusalem's water supply. So he's already preparing for a siege. He's already preparing that there's going to need to be this abundance of water. And through Isaiah, God tells Ahaz not to fear. The enemy kings may have plans, but they will not succeed. God reassures him that the threat will pass and calls him to trust rather than panic. There's been a few moments over the last year or so, especially with trying to buy this property and things like that, where my heart has gone to panic rather than to trust God. Something's gone wrong. I've gone, no. How in my brain and my mind and my worldly knowledge, how can I fix this? Rather than taking it to God in trust. And at the heart of the chapter, God issues a warning and an invitation. If Ahaz did not stand firm in faith, he will not stand at all. If he does not stand firm in faith, he will not stand at all. Trust in God is presented by God and by Isaiah from God as the only way, the only path to stability. God then offers Ahaz a sign to confirm his promise, inviting him to ask for anything. And Ahaz refuses, appearing holy, like, no, I won't test God, but he reveals his lack of faith. He has already decided to rely on Assyria for help, than God. In response, God gives a sign anyway, and we're going to read it. The promise of Emmanuel, a child whose name means God with us. The sign points to both immediate consequences for Judah, but to a deeper future hope. That God will remain present with his people despite their unfaithfulness. And the chapter closes with a sobering warning, because Ahaz chooses political alliance over trust in God. Judah will face hardship and humiliation, and the very power Ahaz turns to for help will become a source of suffering. So, I've got a sentence for you. I haven't put it up on the screen. But I read it in a commentary this week, so it's not mine, but it's good. Whatever a man or woman trusts in place of God will devour him. Whatever a man or woman trusts in place of God will devour him. Ahaz is given a choice. That's what we read in this sort of overview. Ahaz is given a choice. Trust God or trust the enemy. And we're given a similar choice, right? We trust God or we trust the world. We trust God or we trust the enemy. We trust God or we trust what we think we know or what we know we know. We're given this choice between ultimately life and death, between good and evil, between freedom and slavery, between eternity of sinlessness after we die, or to be eternally punished for the sin. And you might recognize that Becca and Ezra aren't here today. That's because they're away for the weekend. They're with, Becca is part of this discipleship group in our family of churches in the UK, and they're away for the weekend in the West Midlands. And so you know me, so that any opportunity I get to go and see a musical, I will. So I went Friday night, and I went yesterday for a matinee. Just making the most of my time. And I always sit there and I look and I think, man, I would love to be up there. I would love to be up there. And some of you know this, some of you might not, but I love musical theatre. I love it. To my bones, I love it. And there was a stage in my life where that's all I wanted to do. It's all I wanted to do. I sat there yesterday at the matinee watching The Producers, and I'm watching it, the musical, not the producer of the musical. I'm watching the musical, and I'm thinking, oh man, I just want to be up there. I love to sing, I love to act. I'm an okay dancer. It's the lower one in my repertoire, but I just want to be up. I want to do it, and when I go and see it, I yearn to be up there. Theatre makes me laugh, it makes me cry, I'm in awe of it, right? And then, for much of my life, it's all I wanted to do. When I was living in America, I went to high school in America, and I graduated high school, and I was ready to go to college. I was ready to go and study musical theatre. I had my plan. My plan was to study musical theatre. My plan was to move to New York. My plan was to try and get on Broadway. And if I didn't get on Broadway, maybe I'll try off-Broadway. And if I didn't get on off-Broadway, I think, I'm obviously not good enough. Maybe I'll try a touring production. And if I can't get on a touring production, I'll just move back to Florida and become a musical theatre teacher. That was my plan. That was my life plan. I was a Christian. I'd given my life to God 4 years before that. I wasn't walking with God. But I came back to the UK to visit my dad over the summer, and God got my heart again. He was like, look, forget all that. This is what I'm calling you to. And I guess in one way I've swapped one stage for another. But God grabbed my heart because I had a choice. I had a choice to run after the world and everything that I wanted. I had a choice to run after God. And God got my heart, and so I moved back to the UK, and when I say swap one stage for another, what I wanted was the accolades, right? I wanted to stand on the stage and perform because I loved it, but I also loved when people clapped me, right? Thank you, Laurel. I also love when... I didn't pause for dramatic effect for you to do that, but anyway. But that's what I wanted. I wanted the accolades. In my wildest dreams, I'd be at Radio City, accepting a Tony, right? That was my wildest dreams, okay? But that was me, that was my applause, that was for my pride, my self-esteem, my ego, whereas the stage I don't even stand on it, the stage I have here is not for my good, not for my glory, it's not for my accolades, it's not for my ego, it's not for my self-esteem, it's all for the glory of God. And this is the choice that Ahaz had. He had the choice between doing things for the glory of God, for trusting in the promises of God, or trusting that an enemy would have mercy, and trusting in the world. And that's the choice that Ahaz had, and it's a choice that we have before we come to Christ. It's a choice that we daily struggle with, that we wrestle with as believers. So we're going to zoom in to verses 10 to 17. And it says this. Again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz, "Ask a sign of the Lord your God. Let it be deep as Sheol or as high as heaven." But Ahaz said, "I will not ask, and I will not put the Lord to the test." And he said, "Hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary men, that you weary my God also? Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. He shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the boy knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land whose 2 kings you dread will be deserted. The Lord will bring upon you and your people and upon your father's house such days as have not come since the day of Ephraim departed from Judah, the king of Assyria." Ask God for a sign. Through Isaiah, God invites Ahaz to ask for a sign, not to test God. Don't misunderstand, not to test God, but really, this is a test for Ahaz. This is a test from God to Ahaz. Do you really trust me? Do you really believe in me? God has challenged Ahaz to believe and to be blessed, and now God offers Ahaz a basis of this belief, a sign. Ahaz refused to ask for a sign because when God fulfilled the sign, he would be obligated to believe. He would be obligated to give God glory. It's not something that he's done as the king for his people. He would be obligated to give glory to God for what God has done. And what is the basis of our belief? What is the basis of our belief? Is it something we've seen? Is it something we've heard? Is it something that's happened in our heart? Is it something that we've read? And this is another quote from the commentary. Evidence does not create faith. It can only confirm it. Evidence does not create faith. It can only confirm it. Hebrews 11. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. We see, don't we, in Jesus' ministry, we see the 10 lepers come. They see a sign. They are healed of their leprosy. This is a sign. This is one of the most obvious signs that Jesus could have done, is heal them of their leprosy. They are no longer leprous. Yet how many believe? 1. Right? Evidence does not create faith. It can only confirm it. Ahaz has been offered this miraculous sign from God, a big one. Right? He said, ask for anything. It can be as low as Sheol, the depths of the earth, right? Where the place of the dead is. It can be there, or it can be as high as the heavens. A big, miraculous sign. Isaiah is calling on Ahaz to test the God who has bound himself to Israel and the house of David in covenant love. Come and test this God. You know what this God has done for your people. You would have heard about it. You may have even read it. God has done so much for his people. Brought them out of slavery. Promised them to be countless as the stars are in the sky. He's promised so much. He's covenanted with this people, yet Ahaz will not trust this God. The crisis was serious, and God sees importance in exercising this faith. right? Exercising of faith. Not testing, but expectation, right? We don't test God. When we're expectant of God, we're not testing him. We're not saying, oh, well, if you really are God, you're going to do this. But we have this expectant faith that God will do things. And what is our expectations of God? What I often think, what are my hopes? What are my expectations for Beulah? What are my expectations and hopes on God for Thornton Heath, for London, for beyond? What are my hopes and expectations? My hope, my sometimes fleeting faith, right? Because I'm human, but my fleeting faith is that God would fill this place. Not so that we can say, look at Beulah, look how big we are, look, we've had to go to 2 services, and look, we've got this and we've got that. But because we know that God is doing something. My expectation is that God would fill this place so that this place could go out to the community and to spread the gospel and see more come. And maybe we'll even have to do something else. Like, I have these wild, what I think are wild hopes and expectations of God, but my wild hopes and expectations of God won't even scratch the surface of what God can do. God can do immeasurably more than I can ask or even imagine. And sometimes I think your imagination is too big, Jordan, but we're told that God can do immeasurably more. We're invited to take God at his word and to try him in this. Malachi 3 says, come and bring your offerings and try me in this. Try me in this. Have hope, have faith, have expectation in God. Come and try. If we're in a bit of a dry spell, a bit of a place where we're not sure God's on the move, he's definitely on the move. Even when we don't see it, even when we don't feel it, God's invitation is come and try me at this. Come and bring what you've got, and I'll come and I'll multiply it, and I will do so much more with it than you can even think of. Ahaz would rather trust Assyria. He'd rather trust the world. And don't we have a tendency to do that? Like I was saying about sort of defaulting to trying to work things out myself. We have a tendency when things are, when things are going well, but when things are tough, how do I get myself out of this? Is our knee-jerk reaction to go to God, and if it is, hallelujah. But often, I know, at least for me, it's not. It's like, how do I work this out in a spreadsheet? How do I work this out via something that is maybe a little bit more tangible? How do I work this out in my brain? God is asking us to take him on his word. And Ahaz is not taking God up on an offered sign. Right? It's a sign that he doesn't want to believe. It's a sign that he doesn't want to submit to God. It's a sign that he doesn't want to be beholden to God, to owe God something. He doesn't want to trust that God will come through on what he has promised. To trust God is the ultimate wisdom. To trust the world is foolish. Even if the world thinks we're foolish for trusting God. When we were 1 Corinthians, didn't we? We were talking about the folly of to the world, it's foolish. To the world, believing in a God that would die on a cross for his people, that's silly. That's stupid. But trusting in God is ultimate wisdom. Trusting in the world is foolish. The world will never. I tell you what. I could have done my degree. I could have gone to Broadway. I could have won 10 Tonys. Right? No, I'm not saying I could have, but that's just hypothetically. I could have won 10 Tonys. I would still not be happy. I would still not be satisfied. I would still not be satiated. There would still be something missing. There would still be a hole in my heart. There would still be a hole in my life. But even though life is difficult and there are ups and downs and there are backwards and forwards and there are all these different things that happen in life, I don't regret 1 second choosing God rather than choosing musical theatre. And I still get a taste every now and again. I get to go and see things, but trusting God is the ultimate wisdom. even if the world thinks trusting God is foolish. And Isaiah says, is it not enough to try the patience of humans? Will you try the patience of my God also? Isaiah rebukes the unbelief of Ahaz, this refusal to trust God. But this is how it looks further to the line of kings. Right? He's seeing what's in the future. Will you try the patience of my God also? Because he says, sorry, I left that bit out. He says, hear then, O house of David. He's talking down the line of the kings and saying, you're not going to trust in God. You're trying the patience of God. So he's looking down the line of the kings, even the good ones, and seeing they don't really trust God as they should. They're trying God's patience. All the kings are inadequate before God. And they're all inadequate until the coming king. They're all inadequate until this Emmanuel comes, until the King of Kings comes. So when you read the line of David, when you read it up to where Jesus is, all these kings that are there, you go through. Some of them are okay, but they're all tarnished. And the Bible goes all the way, God goes all the way to tarnish the reputation of every person in the Bible apart from one. Jesus, the King of Kings. This coming from a line of inadequate kings comes the King of Kings, the perfect King, the King of the universe. Therefore the Lord himself will give a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and you shall call his name Emmanuel. One of the most famous messianic prophecies, the prophecies that are looking towards the coming of the Messiah, coming of Jesus. And this teaches us near, now, and far future fulfillment. It's teaching us that prophecy can be something for now, but it also can be something for later, and sometimes it can be both. That God is speaking into his people at that moment, but he's also speaking to something that's coming, someone that is coming. Encouragement today, fulfillment beyond. How encouraging is it when you get a prophecy or a word, and I know we prophesy in part and they don't always happen how we think they're going to happen, but how encouraging is it that you know that God has spoken? Even if you know that that's something in the future. And then when you look back on it when that thing's happened, you're like, oh man, that's crazy. I can remember 2019. We were in Gloucester at the hub, and Becca had a word from someone that says, I see suitcases in your future. And this isn't a permanent thing, but God's going to take you somewhere, you're going to go somewhere. Becca at this point didn't ever want to leave Biggin Hill. Trying to be buried under the floorboards. So that was a bit strange, but not 2 years later were we on a plane to South Africa to go and serve the church out there. And then you look back on that, almost a forgotten word for us really, because it just been a bit of time had passed. But we look back and we think, my goodness, God had gone before us. Encouragement today, fulfillment beyond. Sometimes it is for today as well. And that's what Isaiah is saying. He's saying, look, all this stuff is going on. You're being attacked from left and right, from north and south. You are having to go to your water supply because the enemy is coming. You are in this constant revolving door of obedience and sin, obedience and sin and judgment. But one is coming that will redeem all of that. There will be a virgin that conceives a son, and his name will be Emmanuel. It will be God with us. One is coming that is going to redeem and take away this revolving cycle. For once and for all, there's going to be someone who comes who's going to be the salvation of God's people. One is coming that is born by a virgin. He then lives this perfect life. One that God's people can only dream of trying to achieve. We've read in the past couple of chapters, all of their offerings and sacrifices, they're all in vain anyway because their heart's in the right place. This man is coming, the Son of God, whose heart is perfect. his heart's in the right place. When he goes to temple, nothing's in vain. He lives this life, he dies this death, he rises again to redeem this people, to redeem the people that have been purchased by his blood. God with us. And we get to live in the goodness of that now. It's not a future thing for us. It's not a future thing for us. It's a now thing for us. He will come again, but it's a now thing for us. The prophecy was also for Ahaz and Judah to know that they could trust God. The attack from their enemies would not succeed. God was with them. A prophecy of the coming Redeemer of Israel. They have chosen to turn their back on God. He has not turned away from them. God, from the wreckage and foolishness of his people, like the line of kings, the line of David would raise the true son of David, would raise Jesus, the one prophesied, the one who had come to redeem, the one who had come to save and heal, Jesus Christ. He shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. Land whose kings, Lord will bring He shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. The Lord will bring upon you and upon your people and upon your father's house such days as have not come since the day of Ephraim departed from Judah, the king of Assyria. There are a few ideas on this one, curds and honey. The most convincing one is that before the child is of accountable age, knowing the difference between right and wrong, that the land threatening Judah will be destroyed. So, I was saying about how something's for now and something's for later. This confused me when I was reading it. But the idea is that the prophecy is talking about a child now and a child then. That before a child that is going to be born in Ahaz's time becomes accountable, the two enemies will be destroyed. But also there is this coming king, God with us, who is coming. Ahaz is told that regardless of his unbelief, God will one day destroy those who seek to bring harm to his people. God would one day deliver his people. And he's done that now. He's come, he's died, he's risen again. Those who believe in him are redeemed. Those who will believe in him are redeemed. And one day he's going to come and fetch his church, fetch his people that have been purchased by his blood. The Lord will bring upon you and upon your people and upon your father's house the king of Assyria. With suddenness, this prophecy of hope, this prophecy of a coming Messiah, a coming king, the coming God with us, is changed to Isaiah telling Ahaz that judgment is coming, that Assyria is coming, the overwhelming fact that whatever a man puts his trust instead of God will devour him. So God gave Ahaz an opportunity, like we have every day, like we have before we are believers, that we have this opportunity to choose God or choose the world. And judgment is brought upon Ahaz because he chooses to trust an enemy. He chooses to trust the world rather than to trust God. And we all have a decision to make before we leave this life. Do we trust God or do we trust the world? Do we trust that God is who he says he is? Do we trust him at his word? Do we try him at this as he tells us? Or do we think the world knows better, we know better, that God isn't really who he says he is? Do we choose the world? The band are going to come up and we're going to take communion. And Ahaz chooses incorrectly. He chooses to trust the enemy. He chooses to trust the world. And what communion is about trusting the words of Jesus. Communion is for those who have taken Jesus at his word, who have taken God at his word, who have tried him in this, who have come to Jesus and said, my heart is changed. I believe that you are who you say you are. I believe that you have done what you said you have done. I believe you are coming back and that you're going to bring your church into a new heaven and a new earth. And what we also trust is that on the night that Jesus was betrayed, that he broke bread and he said, "This is my body for you." We trust that Jesus' whipped, flogged, spat at, nailed, crucified body was given for us. And we come in remembrance, we come in somber recognition of that, but we also come in celebration because he also says, "This is my blood for you." His blood is actually, his body has these things happen to it, and his blood is shed for us so that we may have hope, we may have new life, we may be able to trust God and not trust the world. So we're going to come to communion and we're going to come back to worship.